So in this video, I'm going to outline some of the big victories that Ripple just notched in their case against the SEC and in the cryptocurrency world. I'm going to tell you what Judge Deaton just ordered in favor of Ripple and how that's going to help them, what they're going to do to uncover some information that the SEC, of course, wants to try and hide, and the document that they want to redact information from. I'm going to tell you which documents those actually are. And of course, we're going to be talking about some XRP price movements because right now Bitcoin's climbing, XRP is climbing, and there's a few factors that could be playing into it other than Bitcoin. I'm going to talk about what Goldman Sachs just referenced when talking about Ripple and their use case. Hey everyone, my name is Randy and welcome back to the Late Night Grind. And right now on this channel we are covering the Ripple versus the SEC case, as well as other cryptocurrency news, investment markets, and personal finance. So if any or all these topics interest you, make sure you hit that subscribe button and join the Late Night Grind community. As well as don't forget to hit that bell notification icon so that YouTube will send you a notification when I release a new video. If you're feeling generous, I'd appreciate it if you do two things. Smash that thumbs up button and watch the video all the way to the end. Those are the two best things you can do to support a YouTube channel. So if you do that, I'd greatly appreciate it. All right, guys, let's jump into it. So first, let's talk about what Judge Deaton just ordered in favor of Ripple. So let's back up and figure out what all this means. So back in January, Judge Deaton ordered that the SEC had to turn over certain documentation, certain notes, certain handwritten notes from meetings with third parties that were unrelated to Ripple. Well, the judge forced them, the judge said that they have to turn over those documents, and it took all of several months to actually get that to be done. Well, it's finally time for that to happen. So the SEC said, okay, we'll turn over these documents, but there's some information in it that we want redacted. And I'm going to explain a little bit about what redacted meant because it seems to be there's a lot of confusion, especially on Twitter, as to what is actually going on. So when the SEC says they want to redact information, what essentially they are doing is blacking out parts of the documents that they're handing over, but they're not blocking it out for the judge or for Ripple. It's basically just for public view, for people like us. We don't get to see what's on it. However, the judge gets to see everything. So in this case, what Ripple actually did was ask for an extension of time for them to answer whether or not they agree with or whether or not they object with the redactions that the SEC wants to make. So the judge granted that extension. So what that means is that on March 30th is actually the deadline where the SEC has to turn over those documents. Ripple has until April 4th to respond to those and tell the judge whether or not they agree with those redactions or whether they object to them. But here's a list of the documents that they're actually going to be turning over and that they want the information redacted from. They're going to be turning over some of the handwritten notes from meetings with Valerie Sisbanik, who at the time was the director of the Strategic Hub of Innovation at the SEC. They had meetings with her going back several years relating to cryptocurrencies and crypto assets. Those notes are going to be turned over, as well as meetings with Michael Seaman. Now, Michael Seaman was actually the chief counsel of the Division of Corporate Finance at the SEC, and not only that, his deputy, Jonathan Ingram, also has notes from meetings that the SEC held with these people to talk about cryptocurrencies, digital assets, and things that Ripple thought were relevant to the case and that the judge agreed with back in January. So that's what's going to be, those are the documents that are being talked about. It's not the Hinman emails, at least not yet. And it's not the DPP dispute, at least not yet, even though those are huge and we're going to be waiting for those. But these documents are going to be entered in, and it's a small victory for Ripple. Even though it's not the bombshell, it's something that Ripple is actually going to get to take a look at and decide whether or not they want the public to see some of this information as well. All right, so let's move on and talk about what the price of XRP is actually doing right now. Obviously, Bitcoin is moving up, and there's a few different factors for it that I'm not going to talk about all in this video, but a large part of it has to do with several macroeconomic factors. Some of it has to do with what Luna Terra is doing, and I'm going to talk about that in a different video. But nonetheless, the price of Bitcoin is, of course, running up, sometimes in huge chunks, and of course, XRP follows suit. It was actually up at 91 cents earlier today, which is the highest it's been in a long time. And with this, you're going to start to see headlines such as this one that I'm going to mention more and more as we go along. Well, according to Whale Alert on Twitter, an anonymous person moved 12 million XRP from Bittrex to an anonymous unregistered wallet. This typically signals that it's probably an investor, someone looking to hold XRP, and of course wanting to remain anonymous. You're going to start to see headlines like this more and more, especially as the price creeps up and up. Now, XRP has been moving right along these trend lines, right along Bitcoin for the most part, and I believe it's going to continue to do so until we get a little bit further along in this Ripple versus SEC case. So as we look at several of these factors, with Bitcoin moving up and with, you're going to start to see headlines like this more and more. You're going to start to see Ripple's name in headlines more and more. The price is just going to continue to climb. And it's going to continue to climb when you see things like this. Goldman Sachs, which of course is one of the biggest investment firms in the world, has just put out a report in which they actually mentioned Ripple. Now, what did they mention Ripple in? Well, they mentioned Ripple in one of their investment banking reports, and they specifically mentioned Ripple, and they specifically mentioned Ripple in an opportunity in payments section in their report. They actually mentioned Ripple and described what Ripple's use case is and how it's actually being used. They talked about how they were set up to do cross-border payments, how Ripple's set up in 55 different countries, and it's essentially a way for banking, and it's a way for the banking sector to actually reach the unbanked and reach the otherwise difficult or expensive to reach with monetary offerings and payment offerings. Some really interesting stuff. They were mentioned right alongside of Circle. Now, if you don't know what Circle is, it is Coinbase's stablecoin, USDC, which was also mentioned as an opportunity in payments. So like I said, I think you're going to start to see headlines like these more and more. Now you have Goldman Sachs talking about Ripple. And of course, you're going to start to see headlines of more and more private investors loading up on XRP, because right now it's a great time to accumulate, especially if you've been following the rest of the market. So now that we see this, we're going to start to see things like settlement in the Ripple case. We're going to start to see price predictions, because that's everybody's favorite thing to do when the price of Bitcoin and the crypto world starts to creep up or starts to go up in huge chunks. And like I said, and of course what you have at Terra Luna right now doing, which is buying billions and billions of dollars worth of Bitcoin. Yes, they're actually doing it. This is going to be a very fun spring and summer. And I go back to Benjamin Cowen's lengthening market cycle theory as to, was 2020 and 2021 the real bull run for Bitcoin? Or is this going to be the year in which we see that massive blow off top? Well, all this is going to be talked about, it's going to be speculated about, but nonetheless, it's factors like this that are going to contribute to those talks. So if you want to follow along with this story and any of the other stories that I mentioned, along with other cryptocurrency news, make sure you join the Late Night Grind community. Hit that subscribe button. I'd really appreciate it. And like I said, don't forget to hit the bell notification icon. And if you are new to this channel, go ahead and visit the community tab. I put up polls up there because I love to know what the Late Night Grind community thinks about these stories, about these crypto assets, and about some other things. So if you haven't already, go ahead and check out some of those polls and participate. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching all the way to the end, for smashing the thumbs up button. And as always, I'll see you guys on the next video.